Hello, my name is Bill Leahy, K0MP, and I'm an advisor for CW Academy in the beginning and intermediate levels. And I wanted to go over this particular application that is generally used beginning in intermediate level. It's a long time standard and it has been updated and is highly useful now in both training new contesters, veteran contesters for different contesting, and also beginning intermediate students. It requires quite a bit of skill that has been obtained in previous lessons and levels, both beginning and fundamental. It's useful also for POTA and SOTA because in SOTA POTA you're running. You're not in a contest per se, but you're still running. So this is a good practice for that. In this video, I want to demonstrate the techniques that I use in my classes, and I hope that the student will ask his advisor for his opinions on how to run Morse Runner when he starts in intermediate. Once in a while, I'll have an advanced student from beginning that will qualify to run this. But I want to make one caveat with this particular application. It is not for beginning CW people. If you don't have good ICR skills, instant character recognition, and copying from behind skills, then you're going to have a real problem with this. There's other applications that we used before this that are outlined on this channel, such as the ICR training and RUFC, that will train you and get you up to date to be able to run this competently. Not only will you need your skills, your ICR skills, and copying from behind, but you're also going to need to learn new motor skills on the keyboard. Different keys have different functions, and you'll have to learn that. All these things are happening on the fly, and they're all happening at once. You've got a lot of balls juggling in the air, and it takes a little while to get used to this. After about 4, 5, 6 runs of this, you'll be settled in and actually gain a rhythm, and it's very useful. So we're going to go through the settings of this in depth, and some we'll use in our first application that we do with intermediate, and others we'll be using when we're more advanced. But we'll go over those too. So the following, and not this particular picture behind me, but we're going to do a share screen. We'll over to a setup that I have running right now with version of Morse Runner 1.85.1, which is the latest version. There's also an earlier version. This version, 1.85.1, is called the community version. That's the one we'll be using in intermediate levels. The 1.68 version, the earlier version, doesn't have quite the capability as this one does. It doesn't have contest training per se. It generally will just have you run, take calls, and do a simple serial number enter. So usually 1 to 2 characters as far as the numbers go. So it's much more a simple application than this one is. This is more comprehensive. So we'll right now go over and switch to the application I have running now. This is running live, and we'll go through some of the settings that we start our runs with. And first of all, we'll go through the menu up here upper left, follow the cursor. Under File, not too much happens in here. Just leave this be. We don't really use these things, at least in my class. Now, again, this is for K0MP's class. Your advisor may want to set up things a little differently, but you'll get the general idea of what's going on here. Under Run, a pileup, single calls, WPX, and HST, and a stop all can be gathered down in the lower right-hand side of the raster. You can also do a stop here, but you can do the same thing down here by clicking on the arrow, and this is generally where we'll pick single calls, WPX, for intermediate classes. Okay, and under settings, or send, also the CQ, the F keys, F1, F2, and so on. These are macros that you can press to automatically send an exchange, send a CQ, send your call, send the other person's call, those kinds of things. And we'll be talking about those a little more when we get down to the bottom of the screen. Settings, QSK is checked here. I use QSK, and I'll be explaining that when we get over to the right-hand side, but in my classes, we click QSK. CW speed is where you set your speed that you want to send. In this case, it's 10 words a minute. You can do it here in groups of 5, but you can go over here to the right-hand side and click the up and down arrow keys and change it that way. Okay, this is something new. This wasn't included in the old versions. This is the minimum speed it will send and a maximum speed it will send, or a fixed speed. We've got it set here for a fixed speed. In other words, all calls you send and you receive will be set at 0 minimum speed, which is the 10 words a minute that we've got sent. It won't go any slower than that, and it won't go any faster than that, because the maximum speed is set to 0. If you want, later on, when you get a little bit better at this, you can adjust your plus and minus speeds to incorporate a little more challenge in copying. One speed might be quite a bit faster. The next speed might be quite a bit slower than what you're sending. So, but at first, when we're first learning, it's 0 and 0. Okay, so those are for veterans. They're I use them myself for when I practice with this application. CW pitch, your choice, what you like. Generally, you like to keep it on the low side, but anywhere 450, 600, right in there, I suppose, would be your chosen speed. You want to pick the speed to kind of custom set your hearing. Your hearing is, if you can't hear low sounds, you want to send it a little bit higher, and vice versa. So whatever trips your trigger, that's what you want to set it at. CW bandwidth set at max 600, and we'll go over that when I get over to the other side here. But there's a reason that that's chosen. Monitor level is just the loudness of your headphones. You should always do this with headphones. Always, when you copy CW, you should use headphones, because you can concentrate better and do a much better job. So always use headphones. This is the sound level. And then serial numbers, just leave it at default. We're not using particular serial numbers in this setup, but if we were, some contests use different exchanges, and some of them are serial numbers. In other words, your QSO number 1, 2, 3, 4, it just goes up and up. It's just where you want to start those serial numbers. So just leave it at default. That's fine. QRN, QRM, all these things are also available over here in band conditions. we'll be going over there when we get to the right side here. Duration, of course, is how long you're going to do the drill, and that's set right here. That's where we generally set it. And the rest of it, show call sign info, you want to do that. But otherwise, that's default. Just leave it that way. Help is help. You can go through here if you want to. This is how you get the web page. You can get updates, the latest Morse Runner. First time setup is kind of a general setup. This is how we'd use it in intermediate class. In my class, your class may be different if you're a student. Okay, so let's get over here where the kind of the meat and potatoes are. First of all, this is a different setting that we had from the earlier versions. This allows you to set individual contests. Here's CQ Worldwide, and of course CW Ops, the CWT, HST, just goes on and on. I choose the CWT, CW Ops because we are in intermediate. In lesson 12, you'll be required to listen on the air to a CW Ops, CWT contest and pick out, I think it's 5 stations and report who they were, what their exchanges were, those kinds of things. This is good practice for this. So you're practicing in lesson 1 for something that's going to happen in lesson 12. So it's best to understand what's going to come, and you'll be practicing it right here. It'll make it much easier. If you have troubles with numbers and things like that, you may even have to go back and take some ICR training to get a little bit better. But if you're having troubles at first, an easier one would be the K1USN slow speed test, the SSTs. And that particular exchange is just your name and the state that you're in, or the country, but generally it's a state. So that'll be easy. It's just a 2-digit Arizona AZ kind of thing. So that would be the easiest way to start, but you should progress right up to the CW Ops, CWT, because people, one of the reasons I chose this was people need training on numbers. They don't get enough training. If you copy call signs, that's just one number generally. So, that's just not enough. And this will give you good training on numbers so they come more instantly. Okay. In this case, we're doing a CW Ops, CWT. So the exchange would be your name, your first name. This is my first name. And in my case, I'm a member of CW Ops, so you would be copying a number if you worked me. So I would be sending you Bill and then 1736. And you would type that down in here. So your call would go in here, your name would go in here, and the number would go in here. In CW Ops, if you're a member, you'll have a membership numbers. That's what these are. If you're not a member and you're operating in the CWT, you'll just use your state abbreviation, 2-letter abbreviation. If you're in Academy and you're participating in the CWT, you would just say CWA, CW Academy, CWA. So I'd be CWA, Bill CWA. So that would go in here. Add your call sign right in here. Check QSK. Now let's talk about QSK. Why would I do that? First of all, for people who don't know what QSK is, and remember, this whole video is for beginners, not for veterans. QSK lets you listen in between segments of characters. And this will help the beginner if he starts sending over the top of the person he's working. He can hear that and stop. He knows the student knows he's made a mistake, so he can stop sending, and he won't he'll know then, the big silence that will come about when he expects the other guy to be sending and he's not, because he's waiting for you to send. So QSK is very good. You can know what's going on with the other person, and of course with you, you'll hear your own side tone. So anyway, that's why I use QSK. CW speed happens to be 10 here, and that is the speed of the first lesson in intermediate. And you'll be working your way up from there. And we'll go over a little bit on how I analyze this. Generally, I'll have my students send in a screenshot of the final raster here of the Morse Runner, and I'll look at it and kind of gauge where he's at right now, and then we'll raise, or if he's going too fast, we can lower it too. Next is CW pitch. Again, that's a user selected, whatever you like. The receive bandwidth, let's talk about that a little bit. Why is it 600 and not narrow? Well, these particular people that are going to be calling you back in this have different pitches, some low, some high, getting you used to on the air. That's the way it is on the air. Not everybody will be at your perfect pitch where you're tuned. And the 600 hertz allows you to hear the low and the high. If you want to tune, there's also a bar down here, and you can move it to the left or to the right, and that will essentially change the bandpass of the radio that you're using, so you can more center a low signal or center a high signal back to the pitch that you want. The trouble with that is, in my opinion, is that it takes time. And the basic premise of Morse Runner is to copy calls fast. Anything that takes time, extra time to do, is not generally accepted. You want to be as fast as you can with this. So that's why I use the 600 hertz. Why, too, the step 2 here, is that it's training you to listen to different pitches of CW. So when we get later on in the semester in intermediate, we'll be doing some pile-up and drills, and they'll be all over the place. And you'll have to pick up a particular pitch that you center yourself on among other pitches that are coming in. So you have 5 people calling you. They're all at different pitches. Some are louder, some are weaker. You have to pick out one and zero in on that and pretty much block out the rest. What I call the best CW filter money can't buy. So this is a training of that CW filter in your brain. And that is the reason why, one of the reasons why I use the 600 hertz. So we're training a lot of things at one time here with this application. Okay, band conditions. We start out until lesson 12. This is clear. We don't use these at all. So we're listening to pretty clean code. No QRN, M, and so forth. When we hit lesson 12 and we go to WPX, more people will be calling you. All these will be automatically checked. You won't have a choice. And the activity level, I think per the manual is 2. That means how many people will be calling you at one time. So the lower the number, the fewer the people, the higher the number, the more activity that you'll have that you have to kind of filter through to get that one person that you want to work. And all these things will be checked. So anyway, right now when you select single calls like we're going to do now, it doesn't matter what this is set at. inactive because this is a real pile-up situation. You can use band conditions in single call mode. I would suggest you not, and everybody does. It's just my suggestion here. And let's see what all these things sound like. And they sound like something that you would probably never hear mostly on the air at one time. You hear all these things once in a while, but not all at one time, and it makes it very, very hard to do that. So you might have a noisy day, or you might have some QRM. You might have somebody calling you, calling CQ on your receive frequency, essentially in this drill. So those kinds of things will happen, but not this much. Next is the your runtime. Per lesson 1, it's 30 minutes. That may or may not be correct. This is not like a tube sock. It's not one size fits all. You may have to start at 20 minutes, 15 minutes maybe, depending on your skill level. And you'll work your way up from there. But we start at 30 minutes and we'll go plus or minus in my class from there and see how we are. Each student is different. So the whole class in my class doesn't do the same time all the time. They're different because they're at different skill levels. Okay, next, let's go down here. This is the call entry window. This is where you'll be typing in the calls when they come in. Next will be the name, the first name. In my case, if you're working me, Bill would be typed in here. And then I would send you 1736 in my case, and 1736 would be typed in here. And then we would hit enter, and that would log it. And it would put the whole, if there was nothing wrong, well, even if there was something wrong, it would go up here. If there was something wrong, it'll be in red. If you copied the call wrong, it'll have what you typed in. And then over here, the correction. You know, if it was K6RT, that would be over here, if that was the case. But it wasn't. There's no corrections here. Let's see. Of course, the words per minute doesn't change because we've got it set up here at 00, plus and minus. So never going to change at 10 words a minute. It's a good place to start. In this case, this is a CWT. So 2 of these people were members. They have membership numbers that we had to copy. And in this case, this person wasn't a member, Paul, and he lived in New Jersey. And that's how this would go. Let's go over, of course, this is the elapsed time of your drill. This would run up to 30 minutes in this case if you didn't stop it before. And then QSOs per hour. QSOs per hour is essentially a running rate of how fast you're going. How many QSOs in an hour at that rate would you do? In this case, I did 3 QSOs. That would amortize out to 79 QSOs an hour. There is a limitation. People need to realize if you're running 10 words a minute, you are limited. That's why people run fast in contests. The object of the game is to make a lot of contacts. So if you run at 10 words a minute and you do everything right and you copy everything, you will be limited in the amount that you can do because you're running slow. That's why people want to gain speed, so they can make more contacts. Even if you're the only one sending fast, if you have somebody, if you're running at 36 and somebody calls you at 25, yeah, but it's still going to be faster than if you are both going at 10 words a minute, let's say. So that's the idea. This is kind of a calibration. One thing that we use, or I use anyway, to analyze. And of course, the student uses it also. Do not be looking at this. This is, again, this will take the concentration away from the copy. So this is not something you want to look at. And down here is points and multipliers and the total score like you were scoring a contest. Only interesting, really, to me, scores for beginners now. Score this doesn't, I don't pay too much attention to it. Over here, I pay a lot of attention to it. This is a bar graph. Every bar, because there's so few contacts here, it's very small. The more contacts, the higher that green bar will go. And each bar represents 5 minutes of copy. So this was the first 5 minutes, and that's all I got. But there would be multiple bars here. You'd have 6 bars or so if on a 30-minute run. So you could see how you're doing as far as sustaining your speed. You might be a little bit low at the beginning because you're warming up, and then you're warmed up, the bars would be higher, and then as you got tired, they'd drop off maybe. Okay, so that's what I look at more than anything else, is this bar graph. So let's see. Oh, I want to tell you a little bit about the F keys. We skipped over that. We don't want to do that. So F1 on your computer and F2 and all these correspond obviously to, if you press F1, it's going to call CQ, CQ, CWT, K0MP, kind of thing. And that's all automatic. These are all macros. It'll send your exchange. If you press F2, it's going to send, in this case, bill 1736 automatically. So on and on. To log a QSO, you press the enter key when you're finished with it. Now I want to tell you a little bit about the hidden keys, the keys that are not talked about in this particular application. There is an Alt-W. These keys correspond a lot to contest software. Most contest software, like N1MM and so forth, use these keys. If you type in a particular call, let's say W7FG, and that particular call was in error or something, you wanted to get rid of it, rather than using your backspace key, like this, that takes time. Again, these are all time savers. You would hit Alt-W and boom, it vanishes. And the same way, it'll wipe all the call, name, and exchange windows all at one time. So you can totally reset the whole entry field. The space bar, again, is a time saver. And to tab between windows, when you copy a call in the call window and it's sending it, now automatically this particular application will move the cursor over to the name window. And that's so you can, when he first starts sending his name, that you'll be in the right window. So that's happens automatically. You can use the tab bar or key to do that manually, or which is easier and faster because you can use your thumb, use the space bar. And the space bar, as you can see, I'm just pressing the space bar, and the cursor is going back and forth to every field that we have. Okay? That's faster than using the tab key. An interesting thing here also is if you're in the name and this is where he's starting to send the exchange, and you didn't get it for some reason, you want to repeat, you can hit F7 and send a question mark, did it, or you can hit enter and it'll send a question mark. But it'll only work in the name field. If you press enter here, what's it going to do? It's going to enter that cue into the log. So you won't get a repeat. So if you want to repeat again, when you get over into the exchange window, then hit S7, press F7, and it'll send a question mark, and you'll get a repeat. And the last hidden key is escape. The escape key, which is just to the left of the F1 key. That's an all stop. And when you're sending, if you press escape, it'll stop whatever you're doing right in the middle of it. You're done. And that works well with the QSK, because if you hear the person is trying to send you his information and you're sending on top of him, you can press escape and stop sending and listen to what he's sending you. So those are some things, that little hints that aren't part of it. Now, let's see what we can do here. I'll be using the tab key for pressing from name to exchange. You can see I've already done a few things here, but what you'll do is to start the application, you'll press the arrow down key and press single calls, and it will automatically start. There is a stop. This run will turn to stop. So if you want to stop in the middle of a run, you can. So anyway, we'll do one and see how we come out here. Enter. Sending my exchange. Okay, so in this particular one, we happen to get a DX call. So from Jamaica. So this was Josh, and in the case of the CWT, he would send his country if he wasn't a member. We can have members in Jamaica just like anywhere else. So if he was a member, that would be a number. But he's not a member, and so he just sends his the prefix of his particular country, in this case 6Y. So that's how it works. I let the cursor automatically go to name after I returned his call. And when he started sending his name, I copied Josh and hit the space bar, automatically went into exchange and typed the 6Y. When I typed the 6Y, I pressed enter, and that logged him, and that's where he is right now. So that's pretty much how it goes. As you run more and more, you'll have probably more United States calls than DX calls. Just happened to be one came up. Now, a little bit of analyzing here. First of all, what I look at, number one, of course, everybody looks at the QSOs per hour. So at 70 QSOs per hour, usually that would be a sign, if we did the whole run, if I was a student, that I would need to increase my speed. That's where I would probably come up 1 or 2 words a minute, depending on the student. Not very much. But also I'd be looking down here at the bars. Did he get slower, more tired at the end? And that's where I would calibrate this. Was 30 minutes okay? Was he going up? Was his number of QSOs per hour going up and he never went down again? well, then I would increase this because we're not challenging him enough. His endurance, in other words. So I'm calibrating the endurance actually down here, if it's too much or too little, and adjusting this accordingly. So that's about it. Let me stop the share here. I wish you good luck with this. It'll take you to higher and higher skills if you're patient and diligent with this study. So good luck, 73. We'll see you again.